रमा राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम हरे हरे जय राधा पट सती राधा पट सती श्री राधे जय राधा पट सती राधा पट सती श्री राधे जय सीता राम लक्ष्मण राम लक्ष्मण हनुमान जय सीता राम लक्ष्मण हनुमान राम लक्ष्मण हनुमान जय नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव नरसिंहदेव जय प्रहलाद जय नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव नरसिंहदेव जय प्रहलाद जय जगन्नाथ जय जगन्नाथ बलदेवा जय सुभद्रा मैया जय जगन्नाथ जय जगन्नाथ बलदेवा जय सुभद्रा मैया जय गौरनिता गौरनिता जय गौरनिता जय गौरनिता गौरनिता जय गौरनिता जय पंचतत्वा जय पंचतत्वा पंचतत्वा जय पंचतत्वा जय पंचतत्वा जय पंचतत्वा पंचतत्वा जय पंचतत्वा जय जय प्रभुपाद प्रभुपाद जय प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद प्रभुपाद जय प्रभुपाद गीता कर हरि बोल श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय।
Hare Krishna. Thank you for performing a very lively Sankirtan. And I am very happy to see Two Mridanga devotees player. Shreya is also playing Mridanga. Wonderful. And this Dipankar. So you have a full, orchestra with you in IRI. Wonderful. Okay, let us begin our session today. I think, as usual, some people have not joined or they will join late. But let us begin. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padkamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sadivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tap Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriya Vansha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamiti Namane Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Vishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshikarine Hare Krishna. So I welcome all of you, those who are keen and eager to gain knowledge from the wisdom of Bhagavad Gita. Such eagerness or such keenness is very rare. It is indeed a rare option, which at present age, most of us in this life of youth exercise. Bhagavad Gita is directly spoken by the Supreme Lord. It is Krishna Vani. And without understanding the principles of Bhagavad Gita, it is impossible to find success while we are in this material existence. Because material existence bewilders everyone. Whoever he may be, in whatever position, or whatever he may have an estimation of himself, but he is very much susceptible and prone to difficult situations, challenges, struggles, and continued sufferings. So one of the glories of Bhagavad Gita, I was just going through, it says very articulately, it says that samsara sagaram ghoram tartum ikshati yonara. That samsara sagaram ghoram. This world, the material world is compared to a vast ocean. If someone who by any chance falls in the ocean, what is his possibility of being able to reach the shore? Is there any possibility? None. He may be as much expert a swimmer he may think of himself, but how long can he swim? 6 hours, 12 hours, 24 hours, 48 hours, max to most maybe 72 hours. But the ocean, it is so expansive that impossible to reach the shore. So here it is said that Sansar Sagaram Ghoram Tartum Ikshati Yonara, but one who really wants to cross over this ocean of material existence. Geet Geetanavam Samsadya Paramyati Sukhena Sa. So the principles of Bhagavad Gita is compared to a boat. But if you are in the ocean, but if you are on board, on a boat or a ship, then it is very simple. It is very easy to cross over the ocean. So similarly, the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita is compared to the boat, which enables, although the boat may seem small as compared to the size of the ocean, but the boat is capable to make the person sail and go beyond the ocean. So if one wants to cross over the material ocean, the material miseries and existence, one need to receive knowledge from Bhagavad Gita. You are all very sincere souls who have the desire not to drown, not to get drowned. Everyone else in this material world is destined to be drowned or in the form of death. Krishna will speak when he speaks in universal form that one of his energy is the time factor. And what does time factor does? It drowns and devours everyone. So if one wants to cross over and one does not want to drown, so he must receive the knowledge from Bhagavad Gita. And one who has not received the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, Gita Jnanam Shutam Neva Sadeva Bhyasi Yogata. The one who has not received, the one who has not sufficiently heard Bhagavad Gita. Gita Jnanam Shutam Neva. Neva means one who has not. And what is he doing? He is busy in practice. What? Sadeva Abhyasa Yogita. And what is the Abhyas for? Moksha Mikshati Murhatma. That he wants to be liberated. He wants to be free from all the pangs of miseries. So whatever he may try, whatever attempt or whatever practice he may make, he will never be able to be successful. And for such a person who is in this foolish attempt, he is to be laughed at even by a child. Yati balaka hasyatam. So for all of you who have joined, who have invested their time, time is the greatest resource. So time is worth spending in trying to understand what is the wisdom of Bhagavad Gita. And Bhagavad Gita gives us so many reflections which we can relate in our own life. As we will see from what we are discussing from the first chapter. Mostly people who try to understand Bhagavad Gita on their own, they normally do not even read the first chapter. Why? Because they think that Bhagavad Gita starts from the second chapter. Because Krishna spoke from the second chapter, not the first chapter. No. Gita starts by the situation of Arjuna. How much perplexed Arjuna is. And what is his mind frame? A clear graphic representation of Arjuna's mindset is depicted in the first chapter. So we have seen so far that Arjuna is arguing, Arjuna is contesting, Arjuna is confronting with Krishna. He is giving one after the other reasons that why he does not want to fight. And he wants to give up the battle. A little short recap. Anyone remembers? What is the first reason that Arjuna cites? Why he does not want to fight? Similarly, a conditioned soul, he does not want to perform his duty. He always wants to remain oblivious or indifferent to not performing his duty. And whenever he is being questioned, whenever he is being stirred, he gives various arguments. And those arguments he feels is sufficient enough for him not to perform his duty. What is the first reason which Arjuna cited? That he does not want to fight the battle? The battle of religion, Dharma Yuddha. Most of our members are still, the video is off. I would request that please tune in your videos unless and until you are in a situation where you cannot. Okay, Hare Krishna Dinesh ji, welcome.
Hare Krishna.
You have joined from where? Delhi or Pune?
No, I am in Delhi, sir. I came back around 12.
I think you came back. Okay. Good. Welcome back. Only one of our viewer is raising his hand. No one else remember what is the first reason Arjuna cited that he does not want to fight. Kunal, you remember? आपको ध्यान है?
Because of attachment. So the attachment with the things.
Yes, because of attachment. But what exactly he cites? He does not accept that it is because of attachment that I am not performing my duty. What is the reason that he cites? Compassion. Compassion. Material compassion, as you rightly said, based on bodily attachment. He is showing compassion that he does not want to fight. He is feeling that if he fights, then so many will be killed. It's better not to be engaged in such a profession. And the second reason, the more practical reason which he gave, why he does not want to perform his duty. That reason is a very prominent reason in the life of all of us. Why it is so difficult for us to perform our prescribed duties. Yes, Rahul Prabhu. What is the second reason which Arjuna cites that he does not want to fight?
Maybe I was totally disconnected from the topic right now. I starting hearing. So one you told that is compassion, and another I think
In the last verses which we discussed, Arjuna is at least honest. He is accepting why he does not want to fight. Those who have not raised their hand, I will ask them. Mamta?
Prabhuji, incursions of sins. That is
That
the
we will
second.
discuss today. That we will discuss today. We have not discussed that so far. What is the second reason? What is the most prominent reason which does not allow us to do what we are supposed to do? It becomes the greatest impediment for all of us at all times. Pradeep Prabhu?
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Preference.
Sorry?
Preference. The mind is constantly likes and dislikes.
Remember the verse that we discussed, the big verse. Verse number 31 to 35. Yes, from Mantra of Life, the hand is up.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, yeah.
Prabhuji, sinful reactions for the second reason.
No, that we will discuss today. That is what Mamta also said. What was the reason?
Arjuna was telling that he will not be able to enjoy after the victory.
This is what he says. What pleasure will be derived from killing the sons of Dhritarashtra? So in all our decisions, what is the criteria? The criteria is what pleasure will it give, what pleasure will be derived. If there is some pleasure, if there is some enjoyment, then our mind is inclined to do it. If it feels that it cannot enjoy, it cannot have any pleasure out of it, then the mind rejects. And Arjuna, on the basis of his own mental platform, is rejecting the proposal. He does not want to fight. So he is giving one after the other arguments and reasons. Externally, it may look very logical, very rational, and very religious also to some. Let us see what he continues to speak. This is the 36th verse. So we will try to discuss from 36, 37, and 38. These 3 verses today. Gullamani Prabhu, can you show the verse on the screen?
Yes, Prabhuji.
So now Arjuna gives the next reason. The third reason. He says, Papameva shreyadasman atvetana tataina tasmannarha vayam hantum dhartarashtran sabandhuvan swajanam hi katham hatva sukhina shyam madhuva. So Arjuna is giving the third reason, the prominent reason. He says, Papam eva shreyat asma. That pap means sin. And eva is certainly. And ashrayat asman, we will be inflicted. Or sin will be imposed upon us. How? Hatvetan atataina. Atma means to kill. And whom? Those who are atataina. Atatai means one who is terrorist or aggressors. Those who infringe the rights of others. So see, what is the level of bewilderment of Arjuna? How much his intelligence is affected, that he is not able to see what he is, or he is not able to decide what he should do and what is he speaking. He is saying that those who are aggressors, those who are terrorists, those who infringe the rights of others, if they are punished, and those who punish them, they will be inflicted by sin. Supposingly, God forbid, a terrorist comes. A terrorist comes to a city. What is the duty of the police? Is to immediately catch him or kill him before he can do damage to others. And if the police thinks that how can we catch him, how can we kill him, and what is the situation of such policemen? Tasma nahara vayahantum. So I do not desire to Dhartarashtra and Sabhatva, to kill all those, even though if they are terrorists or if they are aggressors, because they are the sons of Dhartarashtra and Sabandhava. Bandhava means those who are brotherly, those who have relation to me. Then he says, Arjuna is questioning Krishna. He says, Swajanam hi katham hatva, Sukhina Shyama Madhava. Krishna, your name is Madhav. You are the husband of the goddess of fortune. You bring good fortune. But tell me, Swajanam hi katham hitva, that if one kills one's own kinsmen, one's own family members, Sukhina Shyama Madhava, how can he be happy? Why? Because he'll be inflicted by sin. Papameva Shreyadasma. See the translation? So Arjuna is very astutely, in a very forceful, in a very religious minded, or someone who is very big hearted, he is giving this reason. He says, sin will overcome us if we slay such aggressors. Therefore, it is not proper for us to kill the sons of Dhritarashtra and our friends. What should we gain, O Krishna? Why you are making me fight? What is the gain? Husband of goddess of fortune. So you are meant to bring good fortune upon us. You are Madhava. With Madhava, good fortune should come to us. But what are you making me do? You are making me bereft of all good fortune by making me commit sin, by fighting and killing. And then again he says, so how could we be happy? By killing our own kinsmen. So in this way, Arjuna is very much the argumentative mood. This is the typical nature of a conditioned soul. He does not want to accept the reality. And he wants to argue and refute and give his own reasons, mostly all the wrong reasons, why he does not want to do what he is supposed to do. Prabhupada speaks about the aggressors. Previously, he was seeing the aggressors as Durbudhe. Dhartarashtra sa Durbudhe. Yudhe Priya Chikitsava. In the 23rd verse, when he ordered Krishna to place his chariot between the two armies, he spoke that and he said that all these sons of Dhritarashtra, they are all wicked, they are all evil-minded. But now, because of attachment, and attachment is due to ignorance, what is Arjuna considering the sons of Dhritarashtra now as Swajana? Because he is related to me, he is connected to me. Whatever wrong he may do, whatever adharma he may perform, he is to be protected. Prabhupada says that in the Vedic injunction there are 6 kinds of aggressors. This is Atatayina. One who is a poison giver. And we see what the Kauravas did. They tried to poison the Pandavas, especially Bhima. They made him eat a preparation of sweet, and in which they mixed poison, so that they could kill Bhima. But what happened? They made Bhima come to the shore of a river. And when Bhima became unconscious after consuming that poisoned sweet, he sank in the river. And through the river, he entered the serpent planet, Nagalo. And while he was going into the Nagalo, all the snakes there, they bit him. And what the snakes did, they sucked all the poison out from himself. So he became free from poison. And when he went in the Nagalo, he created havoc by smashing the snakes. So the king of the snakes, Vasuki, he came and had a truce with Bhimsen. And he offered Bhimsen the nectar. Bhimsen drank all the nectar and he became so powerful that he had the power of more than 10,000 elephants in his court. So in a way, because Krishna was protecting the Pandavas, the plan of Duryodhana and his brothers did not work. But nonetheless, these Kauravas, they had tried to kill by administering poison. Second, one who sets fire to the house. Try and understand who are these people. So many times in our heart also, due to vengeance sometimes, or due to some harsh feeling for others, this kind of thoughts may come. These are all demoniac. Aggressors are those who are in demoniac mind, frame of mind. The one who sets fire to the house. So anyone who sets fire to anyone's house is to be considered as an aggressor, as an archetype. So we know that the Kauravas, they made a palace of wax, and where they invited the Pandavas to come and enjoy holidays. And in the dead of night, they tried to set the palace of wax on fire. Tried to burn all the Pandavas alive. And one who attacks with deadly weapons. One who plunders riches. One who occupies another's land. This is what the Kauravas do. The rightful kingdom of Maharaj Yudhishthira. They try to snatch it away. How? Through the game of dice. And 6, one who kidnaps a wife. This is what they did. They tried to usurp the chaste wife of the Pandavas, Draupadi. Such killing of aggressors is quite befitting any ordinary man. So the Dharma Shastra says that as soon as there is an atatai, an aggressor, who has committed such grave offenses, he is to be immediately killed. Aggressors are to be at once killed. And no sin is incurred by killing such aggressors. Like the police, if he kills the terrorist, what sin is inflicted? Is he punished by the law? Is there a court proceeding against him? No. Rather, he is rewarded. He is acknowledged. But here, Arjuna is not considering this. But Arjuna was not an ordinary man. He was saintly by character. Prabhupada is highlighting this aspect, that Arjuna was not an ordinary man. He was saintly, and therefore he wanted to deal with them in saintliness. This kind of saintliness, however, is not for a Kshatriya. Although a responsible man in the administration of a state is required to be saintly, he should not be cowardly. In a way, Srila Prabhupada is slapping Arjuna on his face. How? By the show of saintliness which Arjuna is making. What he is supposed to do is very conveniently trying to avoid. Why? In the garb of being saintly. The Prabhupada says this is not saintliness. This is cowardice. Fire. Why? Because he is refusing to perform his duty. He is not taking up the role and responsibility which he is supposed to do. So many times, or most of the time in our practice, we resort to some similar practice to what Arjuna is doing. But we try to project ourselves as if we are doing some very important sacrifice. But the root of it is our cowardice. That we are failing to perform our duty. We are told to chant every day 16 rounds. Most of the time, what is the reason? The obvious result is that we are not able to chant 16 rounds. Why? Because we are busy in considering some other engagement, which we think is more important or more valuable. Or rather, what the mind is saying, what pleasure will we get in chanting? What good is there in chanting? So let me be engaged in those activities where I can see and enjoy more pleasure. So Prabhupada is saying that, for example, although a responsible man in the administration of a state is required to be saintly, but he should not be cowardly. For example, Lord Ram was so saintly that people are now even anxious to live in the kingdom of Lord Ram, which is Ramarajya, because everyone was happy. No one was inflicted by any suffering. Who does not want to be happy? But Lord Ram never showed any cowardice. What Ravan also did. He tried to kidnap Mother Sita. Ravan was an aggressor against Ram because Ravan kidnapped Ram's wife Sita. But Lord Ram gave him sufficient lessons, unparalleled in the history of the world. This is the spirit. This is the spirit. That if someone who does some mischief, some wrong, he should be corrected. He should be punished. Prabhupada is saying that Lord Ram gave him sufficient lessons, unparalleled in the history of the world. In Arjuna's case, however, one should consider the special type of aggressors. What Arjuna is doing, Arjuna is showing here his cowardice how? Through his attachment. Through his attachment. Because these are not ordinary aggressors. What are these? These are special type of aggressors. Namely, his own grandfather, own teacher, friend, son's grandson. Because of them, Arjuna thought that he should not take the severe step necessary against ordinary aggressors. Besides that, saintly persons are advised to forgive. Such injunctions of saintly persons are more important than other political emergencies. Arjuna considered rather than kill his own kinsman for political reason, it would be better to forgive them on grounds of religion and saintly behavior. He did not therefore consider such killing profitable simply for the matter of temporary body happiness. After all, kingdoms and pleasures derived therefrom are not permanent. So why should he risk his life and eternal salvation by killing his own kinsman? So Arjuna is giving this reason. What is the reason? Papam eva shreyadasva. That I will be inflicted by sin. If I perform my duty, if I fight in this dharma yuddha, if I participate, if I fight, what I will do, I will kill. And if I kill, I will be inflicted by sin. So why should I fight? Why should I kill? And then he is asking Krishna, he is questioning Krishna. He says, after all, kingdom and pleasures derived therefrom are not permanent. So why should he risk his life and eternal salvation by killing his own kinsman? Arjuna addressing of Krishna as Madhava or the husband of the goddess of fortune is also significant. In this connection, he wanted to point out to Krishna that as the husband of the goddess of fortune, he should not induce Arjuna to take up a matter which would ultimately bring about misfortune. Krishna being Madhava, can he ever bring misfortune to anyone? But look at Arjuna. He is even questioning Krishna and saying that why are you making me fight and inflicting misfortune upon me? Prabhupada says Krishna, however, never brings misfortune to anyone, to say nothing of his devotees. So what we see here in this verse, and through this verse, Arjuna is revealing his inner state of mind. What is the mood of Arjuna? The mood of Arjuna is inflicted with pride. He thinks he knows what is right, what is wrong, what is good, what is bad. And Arjuna is still considering Krishna as his friend. And as a friend, he thinks he has equal right. So instead of agreeing with Krishna, he is arguing. He is confronting. So in the casual mood, in the mood of friendliness, when we think that we are equal, but we also have equal right. So in this mood, it is impossible to accept spiritual guidance or spiritual advancement. Arjuna is lacking the mood of respect and reverence. So Arjuna is behaving like a proud person who is inflicted by the madness of his own knowledge or of his own learning. He thinks he knows what should be done and what should not be done. And here he is even challenging Krishna. He's saying, how can we be happy? So he does not consider the killing to be profitable, to be pleasurable. But he is so much obsessed in his own pleasure, in his own profit, that he has become completely blind for performing his duty. So we see from the life of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, from his own life example, he taught us Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Lord himself, but he has taken the role of a devotee. He never ever took his own decisions. He would consult. And here Arjuna is on the same chariot where Krishna is right in front of him. But what is he doing? He is very much guided by his own happiness. And he is completely ignoring the interest of Krishna. He is also ignoring the reality that Krishna has accepted to become the charioteer of Arjuna, so that Arjuna can fight this Garmi. Arjuna can slay these aggressors. Similarly, a conditioned soul, he is never interested in mission of the Supreme Lord. He has his own mission. And what is his mission? What will make me more happy? What will give me more pleasure? So Srila Prabhupada, when Prabhupada was preaching in India, Prabhupada gave his mercy to many, but some took and some did not. There is a very famous personality who used to converse with Srila Prabhupada while Srila Prabhupada used to be in Mumbai. Prabhupada spent considerable time in his preaching movement in Mumbai, because Prabhupada was facing stiff opposition in establishing Sri Sri Radha Rasbihari temple in June. So Prabhupada used to every day go for morning walk. And when Prabhupada used to go for the morning walk, there used to be one elderly person, almost the age of Srila Prabhupada, Dr. Patel. Have you heard? There are very famous conversations of Dr. Patel with Srila Prabhupada. And this Dr. Patel, he was doctor also. He was a qualified practitioner. And he had read many Vedic literatures. He was very proficient in Vedic literatures, Vedic knowledge. He knew all the Bhagavad Gita. But he often ended up having argument with Prabhupada, not accepting. So I'll cite one. This is in the morning walk of Srila Prabhupada on 23rd March 1974 at the Juhu beach. So Prabhupada told that Srimad Bhagavatam is compared to Krishna's body. Krishna sudhame upagate dharma jnana adi sa kalo nashta samesha purano arko adhinobhata. So Srimad Bhagavatam is compared to Krishna's body. Srila Prabhupada says that we begin to meditate on Krishna's body or Krishna's beautiful form through his lotus feet. The first two chapters, the first two cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam compared the lotus feet of the Lord. But Dr. Patel, he said that no. What do we do when we come to the temple? Do we start meditating on the form of the Lord through his lotus feet? Difficult. Unless and until one is very sufficiently advanced, it is not possible for him. Why? Because we are immediately captivated by the face. We directly want to stare and look at the face. So this Dr. Patel told Prabhupada that, but I start from the face. And what is the face of Krishna? The smiling face of Krishna is compared to the 10th canto. In the 10th canto also what people are most interested is in Ras Pancha Adhyaya. In those 5 chapters in which Krishna is performing rasa dance. So this Dr. Patel immediately confronted Srila Prabhupada and said, no, Swamiji, you may start from the lotus feet, but I am more interested in Krishna's face. Prabhupada told him, Prabhupada smiled And Prabhupada said that that is avidhi purvak. That is the wrong way. You have to start from the lotus feet and then gradually come up to the face. Otherwise, you will never understand who Krishna is. That is why most of the people they misinterpret what Krishna did, particularly this pastime of performing Rasa Leela. Prabhupada said that God cannot be understood by arguments. No one can understand Supreme Lord by his own argumentative approach. One has to become submissive. Dr. Patel replied that I cannot submit without understanding. Unless and until my intelligence gets the proper reply or the answer, and I'm convinced with the answer, I don't accept. And he said that this is what we were taught in school. This is what is taught in school. To the extent we are not able to comprehend what we do, we reject. So scriptures, you see, Arjuna will cite the scriptures. Papam eva shreyadasman atvetan adatai. As if he is a big pandit. He knows the conclusion of all the scriptures. And thus he has decided that those who are the aggressors, they should not be killed. What they should be done, they should be encouraged. Why? Because they can create havoc in the society. So Prabhupada told this Dr. Patel that God cannot be understood by arguments. And he says that unless and until you are submissive, you cannot understand the Supreme Lord. And his plan, what to speak of his pastimes. People want to enter into Krishna's pastime, not knowing what Krishna is and why he performed this pastime of Rasa Leela. The Prabhupada reminded him that Krishna himself in Bhagavad Gita has spoken in the 4th chapter, and he says, Tad vidhi paripatena pariprashnena sevaya upadeshanti te jnanam jnaninam tattva darshan. But this Mr. Patel said, but my dear Swamiji, I want to learn myself. Prabhupada said, simply hear. And if you don't talk and hear, it will become beneficial for you. It will do good for you. So the conditioned soul, all of us, inflicted by the 3 modes of material nature. Privi gud mai bhave evi sarvam idam jagat mohitam. So this material nature, which consists of the 3 modes of tamas, rajas and sattva, it bewilders each and every one. No one is straight. And in that bewildered state, whatever we think that we want to do is based on our illusion. Mohita. Nabhijana. He does not know what should be done and what should not be done. But as Arjuna is reflecting here, he is arguing. He is not accepting. And he is saying, because this aggressors, this Atatai, they have relation with me. So they should not be killed. You know of a story? Srila Prabhupada tells a story. That there was once a boy. And that boy, somehow, he lost both his parents. And his aunt, she became the caretaker of the orphaned boy. And in her affection, she did not correct the boy. And the boy, in the bad association, he picked up many bad habits. One of the bad habits that he picked up was that he would take others' belongings without asking them. That is stealing. But because the aunt thought that this is my boy, he's our boy, she never corrected him. She never scolded him. She never punished him. And later that boy, because of his bad association and bad habits and bad practice, he became a professional robber. And once, while he was doing his nefarious act, he was caught. And he was put into prison. When this aunt came, sobbing, crying tears, my dear boy, what has happened to you? Why these people have put you behind bars? Look what I have brought for you. Some very delicious homemade meat. So the boy, he was so furious that as the ant came near, and he was in the vicinity to interact with her, he caught her ears with his teeth and almost, bit her, bited her with such pace that blood started to come down. All the people in the cell, the prison, they came and separated them and said, "Why did you do this? Why did you? What kind of person you are? You are completely demon. Your aunt has come. You mean that you are trying to bite her, kill her, damage her." So the boy said that whatever today I am suffering, the reason for that is my aunt. The day one when I committed mistake, if she would have corrected me or she would have punished me, so I would not have stretched so far to be in such a situation. So the principle of dharma says, it is stated in Manu Samhita, Manu Smriti or Manu Samhita. It says, Atataina ayantara anyad eva vicharya na atatai vidho dosha antum bhavati kashtana. That anyone who performs sinful act or who performs inhuman acts, particularly the 6 acts which are mentioned in the Prabhupada's purport, he is to be immediately punished and killed. And there is no fault in such killing. But here Arjuna, he knows very well that the Kauravas are all evil-minded. They are all wicked. They have all transgressed the laws of the dharma. And they have performed all kind of abominable sexual activities. And they must be punished. But because of his attachment, he is showing weakness. Krishna will slam him. Krishna will say, Kutasva kashmalamida vishame samupasthita. From where have these impurities come upon you? Where is that impurities coming? Due to his attachment. That has become his weakness. So he is refusing. He is refusing that I don't want to fight. Because I see no pleasure in fighting and in killing. So this is what the attachment does. It bewilders our intelligence. And we cannot see that what is good and what is actually not good for us. And we do what is destructive for us. Then we come to the 16th chapter. 16th chapter, Krishna speaks about two natures. What are the two natures? One is divine, Devi, and the other is demonic, which is Asura. Devi and Asuric Sampradaya. So what is the divine nature? Divine nature is to always follow Dharma. However difficult it may be, or however it may seem that there is no pleasure. It may seem that there is no pleasure, but actually happiness can only be achieved when one follows and performs Dharma. So in the 16.7 verse, Krishna says, Pravitrincha nivritrincha jana na vidura asura na shaucham na api cha achara na satyam teshu vidyate. Those who are demoniac, they do not know pravitrincha nivritrincha. They do not know what is to be done and what is not to be done. Dharma is always to be followed, is always to be performed. And a dharma is never to be accepted or practiced. Jana na vidur asura. So those who are asuric, those who are demoniac, they can never differentiate, but they can never discriminate. Why? Because such people, they neither have proper behavior, nor na satyam, na saucham. They do not lead a life of truthfulness and cleanliness. In the civilized society, we should be guided by spiritual rules and regulations, not by what I like or what I dislike. That is what kind of society? That is demoniac society, where every criteria is what will give me pleasure, or how I can enjoy more. Or what is the enjoyment based on? Enjoyment is also based on one's temporary senses, on one's bodily conception of life. So in this way we see from this verse that Arjuna is arguing. He is citing so many reasons. He is citing just the reverse. If he kills the aggressor, he will be the beneficiary of performing pious act. But what is he interpreting? He is thinking that if I kill, because this sinner, this aggressor are my own kinsmen, so I'll be infected by sin. So I will not. Any questions so far, or we go to the next verse?
तो भी एक ही क्वेश्चन है कि हम लोग अपनी सुनने की प्रोपेंसिटी को कैसे बढ़ा सकते हैं?
Voice is not very clear. Can someone hear what Kunal is speaking?
हरे कृष्णा।
Yes, Hare Krishna.
तो प्रभु जी मैं ये कह रहा था कि हम लोग का हमारा माइंड जो होता है वो किसी की सुनना ही नहीं चाहता, तो ये सुनने को कैसे, मतलब हियरिंग को कैसे बढ़ा सकते हैं कि हमारा माइंड कभी किसी की सुनना नहीं चाहता, अपनी सुनाना सबको चाहता है।
नहीं, आप माइक्रोफोन अपने मतलब थोड़ा एडजस्ट करके बोलिए तो सुन सकेंगे।
हरे कृष्णा प्रभु जी।
हरे कृष्णा। या टाइप कर दीजिए, यू कैन टाइप, अनदर ऑप्शन इज देयर, यू कैन टाइप योर क्वेश्चन।
यस प्रभु जी।
Till the time he is typing anyone else, we can see, we can relate in our own life. We are told to sleep on time. And what we do? We find so many reasons, so many arguments not to sleep on time. Why? So that we cannot wake up on time. know very well that if we don't sleep on time, we will not wake up in time. And if we don't wake up in time, how will we practice? But the mind is thinking that if I remain awake, there will be more pleasure. What pleasure is there if I sleep on time? So why should I sleep on time? Or we are told not to be in bad association. Many times we know that where we are heading, it will bring a wrong impact on my consciousness. But still, because of this pleasure-seeking tendency, because of the influence of the lower modes, we become very susceptible. And easily we are swayed away. आपने टाइप किया कुरान? Okay. He says actually probably that is the problem with me also, that we don't want to listen to anyone of our mentors in spiritual life. Our mind wants to cross him, how we can remove this propensity. I must say that you are thoroughly honest. You are accepting that where the problem is, where the disease lies. The disease lies because our mind is not inclined, because the mind is not pure. The mind is impure. To the extent the mind is impure, it will not be able to accept what is good for us, what is beneficial for us. So how to be able to overcome it? We start with small beginning. What we are told, what we are advised, we sincerely follow. Irrespective of however the mind deviates or distracts us. We do not hear the mind, but we follow what we are guided to. Simple beginning would be how to become disciplined. How you can discipline the mind? By disciplining it by regulation. Very difficult to control the mind. The mind is very powerful. When we will come to the 6th chapter, Krishna will reply, Ashansham Mahabaho Mano Durnigraham Chalam. Krishna also gives a solution. How to be able to do it? Abhyasena tu kaunteya, by practice. Suitable practice. What is the practice? That what we are told, we will follow. How the mind becomes peaceful? When it is put into regulation. Very simple regulation is, we should not remain awake after 10. And we should also not sleep after 5 a.m. and 10 p.m. And when we wake up in the morning, we should utilize the morning time in chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Initially, because the mind is used. Have you seen a child? What the child does? If the child wants to play with something, it wants to grab it. Isn't it? But when he is told that he cannot have it, what he does? He starts to cry. He starts to cry. And even after crying, if he is not attended by his parents, what he does? He tries to bang his head, his body against the floor, against the wall. So that is the typical reflection of how our mind works. How the mind is programmed, that it will like what is most destructive for us. And it will dislike what is most beneficial for us. So if we remain at the mental platform, we will always be in a state of suffering. I am reminded in Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a verse which explains this phenomenon. I have here. 11th canto, 2nd chapter and 49th verse. This is the Nav Yogendra is giving knowledge. Previously, the Brahminical class of men, the advanced Brahminical class of men, the spiritualists, they used to guide the kings. And king used to set the standard for all the citizens. So the king was being addressed by these nine Yogendras, nine very advanced spiritualists who came to visit him in his kingdom. And the king sat at their feet and inquired that how he can benefit himself and his entire citizens. So in that discussion, there is a very nice verse in which there is a commentary which says that those who are on the gross material bodily conception of life, who identify with them with the body, like most of us, we are in the bodily consciousness, in the bodily concept of life. So for such people, there is always miseries, and peace and serenity is never experienced in their life. They can never experience peace. Why? Because the body, there are so many urges, there are so many desires, and what is the greatest urge of the body is sex desire. Those who are in the bodily conception, they will always be inflicted by miseries. And those who are on the platform of mind, who identify with themselves in the mind, or those who are guided by the dictates of the mind, it says for them, there is no end of disappointment in their life. Why? Because there will always be fear, panic, and most of all, hankering. Because what the mind is always thinking about is thinking about how to expand its pleasure. It is always hankering. What is it said? That is what the advertising people got the idea from. And they made ye man mange more, ya dil mange more. From here only. Because the mind is always desiring and demanding more and more and more. And what is it achieving? It is only achieving miseries and sufferings. And in this attempt to fulfill the mind's demand and desire, what he will achieve is stress, anxiety, and unfulfilled desire, frustration, depression. That is why in today's world, people are not physically disabled, but they are mentally more disabled. Why? Because the mind is always at unrest. The mental disease is more than the physical disorder. And those who identify their existence with intelligence, buddhi, what do we say? Intelligentsia, buddhi jivi, philosophers, poets, maybe scientists. What is their situation? You will find a typical type of bitterness in their life. They always be bitter, as if they will bite. They will always easily be angered. Very much they are proud of themselves. Arjuna is showing, reflecting both on the mental platform and also on the some extent the intellectual platform. And such will lead to frustration. There is one more level, and that is the level of false ego. One identifies himself with false ego. So then he is infected either by superiority or inferiority complex. Mostly superiority complex. He thinks he is better than others. He knows what is right, what is wrong. So he does not accept anyone else's advice. And the biggest example of that is both Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana. They were advised so many times by Mahatma Vidur, by Bhishma Dev, by Dronacharya, but they always rejected. Even Karna was advised by Kunti Devi, even Krishna, that you are a Pandava. You do not be on the side of the Dharma. There's so many examples. Ravana was advised by Vibhishana, by Marich, but he rejected all the advice. Whereas we see those who are divine, Lord Ram, he acted on the advice of Vibhishana. He even consulted Sugriva. And we see in the life of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he is God himself. But he consulted and took advice. So to the extent our mind is demoniac, it will refute. So how to control that demoniac mind is by making the mind come in regulation. Control the mind means to regulate the mind. And to the extent we become regulated, what happens? The mind uplifts itself, purifies itself to come in the mode of goodness. Regulation is not possible in the mode of passion. Passion, 2 days there will be regulation, third day it will come back to its own state. Passion and ignorance, there will be very difficult. So how to come out of ignorance is to remain in regulated state. Human life means a life of regulation. Animal life, there is no regulation. Animals, do they have any regulation? No. But to the extent we remain unregulated, to that extent we are on which platform? We are not on the human platform. So how to remove the influence of mind? By putting the mind in regulation. You heard that story of a genie, who was hyperactive. And once a man received this bottle, and when he uncorked the bottle, that genie came out. And he immediately became very big. And he said, you have to engage me. If you don't engage me, I will kill you. So what this man said, okay, there is so much of dirt in the village, go and clean the entire village. And within a flash, the genie came back. It's all done. What is the next engagement? So he gave, so many engagement, and within a few moments, the genie was back. Then this man was puzzled because there was a threat to his life. Then he gave the engagement to the genie. He said, you climb these stairs, and when you go to the top of the stairs, you come back. When you come back, again go up. This is how the mind is. And if you put the mind in regulation, and how it will be controlled, Krishna controls. Why? Because we accept the regulation given by the Supreme Lord. But if we do not accept the regulation, then the mind will create instruction for us. It will interpret the more destructive thing to be the best suited thing for us. Papam eva shreyadasma atva tan atatai. And by killing them, there will be papa. By not killing the atatai is papa. So, in short, to recap, that if we put our mind in regulation, initially it will rebel. It will not accept. Like a child, when he is being forced to go to the school. What is the situation? I give this example often. Very practical example. But however the child may show disinterest, does the parent allow the child not to go to school? Because they know if the child does not go to school, if he remains illiterate, his future is dark forever. Okay, so let's quickly go to the next verse also. Next two verses. So Arjuna here in this verse is speaking based on his attachment. And he's saying that if I fight and if I kill, and if I kill all these aggressors, I will be inflicted by sin. Then you see what that reason he gives in the next two verses, 37 and 38. Can you show the verse? यदि अपि एते न पश्यन्ति लोभोपहत चेतसा कुलक्षय कृतं दोषं मित्रदोहे च पातकम् कथं न ज्ञेयम् अस्माभिः पापादस्मान् निवर्तितुम् कुलक्षय कृतं दोषः प्रापस्यद्भिर्जनार्दन. Look what he's saying. Yadi api ete na pashyanti. Pashyanti means to be able to see. And what is he saying? What is he citing the reason? That because of yadi api ete na pashyanti. Why? Because the others, who are the others? The Kauravas, the Swajana, they are not able to see. What they are not able to see? That why fighting is sinful, why killing is sinful. Why? Because they have been inflicted by lobha upahata chetasa. Lobha means greed. What greed does? Greed makes the person blind. So he's saying because the Kauravas, they are not able to see, they are blinded by greed. What is the greed? Greed is of kingdom. And upahat means which has been stolen away or which is covered. Chetasa means the consciousness. Kula shaya kritam dosha. They are not able to see the fault. What is the fault? Fault in destroying the dynasty. Kula shaya. Mitra dohe chapatakam. In killing one family or quarreling with friends. What he sees on the other side? Either they are family members or they are friends. So he says, Katham na geyam asmavi. So why should I do that? If they, the Kauravas, because they are so much overwhelmed with greed, that in the greed to grab the land, they have no discrimination, low chetasa, that they are not even considering that killing of one's own family members, killing of one's friend will bring sinful reaction. Katham na geyam asmabi. But why should we do that? Why should we act in a way that they are acting? Why? Because papa asman nivartita. That engage in these acts of sin. Again, he is thinking of the same. That if I fight, I have to kill, and if I kill, I will be inflicted by sin. And then he gives another very powerful reason. So the fourth reason. Kula shaya kritam dosha. Kula means the dynasty or the lineage or the family. Shaya means to kill. And kritam means the act, and dosha means the fault. The fault in killing one's own dynasty or one's own family. So he's saying that you are Janardhana. You are the maintainer of everyone. Can you not understand this? Prabhupada says that a Kshatriya is not supposed to refuse to battle or gamble when he is invited by some tribe. So this is the duty bound to the Kshatriya when he is challenged. If one is a true Kshatriya, if he is challenged by anyone else, he cannot refuse to fight. Either he fights fights or win, or he fights or dies. That is the Kshatriya. And also, there is another aspect to the Kshatriya. Because whenever they are given a challenge, they have to accept. This is the chivalrous nature. It's called the Kshatriya spirit. Or also in the gambling match. If somebody invites for gambling, they cannot refuse. Prabhupada is saying under such an obligation, Arjun could not refuse to fight because he had been challenged by the party of Duryodhana. So being on the platform of being a Kshatriya, it was his duty to fight. In this connection, Arjuna considered that the other party might be blind to the effects of such a challenge. But Arjuna is thinking that they want to fight because of greed. But they are not seeing that what is the evil consequences. Arjuna, however, could see the evil consequences and could not accept the challenge. But Arjuna is showing more discerning ability. You understand what is discern? Discern means to be able to differentiate what is to be done and what is not to be done. So if this principle is applicable, that Arjuna says that even if he is challenged, and even if he is considered cowardice, but still he will not fight and kill. Although this is contrary to the Kshatriya spirit. So on the same basis, could Yudhishthira Maharaj not consider this? That when he was invited for the gambling match, and when he knew that the outcome of such a gambling match would not be conducive, he would have refused it. But actually, what is the criteria of consideration? The criteria of consideration is our own convenience, is our own suitability, is of our own choice, which is fueled by the desire to enjoy. So we interpret on double standards. If it suits me, I will accept. If it does not suit me, I will reject. This is the basis that people select their gods of worship also. Monday they will go and worship Lord Shiva. Tuesday they will go and worship Hanumanji. Wednesday they will go and find someone else to worship. Whatever is convenient, whatever is suitable, whatever is more pleasurable, they will accept. So Arjuna could, however, see the evil consequence, did not accept the challenge. Prabhupada says obligation is actually binding when the effect is good. But when the effect is otherwise, no one can be bound. What does it mean that obligation is actually binding when the effect is good? It's a very deep principle. And this principle is applicable to all of us. What is the obligation is binding? That if we take support, or if we take help, or if we take so if from the wrong person we take help, like we see the case of Bhishma or Drona, obligation is actually binding. They were forced to fight on the side of the Kauravas. Why? Because they accepted some financial help from the Kauravas. So when the event of fight broke out, they could not. It was not possible for them. They could not say that because the Kauravas are on adharma, they will not fight for them. So it's a big principle, the deep principle. We should be very conscious from whom we take support or stand. If we take it from the wrong persons or people, then we will be forced to participate in their own sinful acts. Prabhupada is saying, but when the effect is otherwise, then no one could be bound. Similarly, If Arjuna is refusing battle on this principle, that this principle can be overlooked when the effect is bad, did the Pandavas not knew that the gambling man, the effect will be bad? Why did they gamble? If they would not have gambled, the situation would not have arisen. So if we see Shastra, the deeper point is, or if we try to take decisions on our own, we will be perplexed. We will be checkmated. We will not be able to have clarity or understanding what we should do at what. If the principle works here, why it will not work the other way? Similarly, Shastra, many times we see people are very enthusiastic to read Shastra and try to apply Shastra on their own. They will be very much in danger. Because Shastras are made in such a way that on our own one can never understand the Shastra. That is why we need a guide, we need a guru. Considering all these pros and cons, Arjuna decided not to fight. By not fighting, Arjuna will incur the greatest sin. Krishna will refute this in the second chapter. Because it's the Yuddha of Dharma. Not performing one's duty is sin. Why is the world population at large suffering? Many times people say, they cry. Why am I suffering? What wrong have I done? What sin have I performed? What is the sin? The greatest sin is not performing one's duty. And if they don't have a guru or a guide, a spiritual guide, they will never know what duty is. The entire life, they have not performed their duty. So what will they receive? They will receive happiness, pleasure, the bonus of the joy. Not possible. Not possible. They will be inflicted with repeated miseries and sufferings. We will see that in the second chapter. Arjuna will continue to give so many arguments, so many reasons. The person who is not actually on the spiritual platform, is not in Parampara, he will be very much convinced. That is why we see mass of men. They say that Arjuna was a very kind-hearted person, but Krishna induced him to fight. And what is the basis of their understanding? Is their own mental platform or mental platform. So we see here from these verses the basic life lesson that we learn is how much we misinterpret or how much we misapply in our own life, in our real world situation. And we deliberately deny to do what we are supposed to do. That will cause benefit to us. And we are distracted or we are very much absorbed in doing what we should not. Why? Because what is the criteria of decision making? Is our own whimsical mind. Is our own polluted intelligence. So to the extent we remain, so we will suffer. So we will see how much Arjuna is suffering. Next verses will speak. Okay, I'll stop here. This 9. Some participation from your side. Yes, Devadatta. Hare Krishna. Holding.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी
Hare Krishna.
अभी आपने जो पॉइंट डिस्कस किया कि ऑब्लिगेशन इज रिजल्ट इज गुड तो मतलब क्या इसका ये मतलब है कि हम लोग अपने अपने मतलब जिस चीज के लिए हम कुछ अच्छा एक्सपेक्ट कर रहे होते हैं उसके लिए हमारी ऑब्लिगेशन रहती है ये इसका ये मतलब है अब जब हमको लगता
Obligation
है
is binding when the effect is good. Try to understand this concept. I'll give another example. Example is of Karna. What Karna did? Karna had the association of the Kauravas. And what Duryodhan in particular did, he made Karna the king of one of his province, Angaraj. You remember? Have you heard? So if from wrong people we take support and we take their help, particularly the financial help, in the need of our hour, so what we have to do? We have to support such people. Right or wrong? Are you hearing?
Yes, Prabhuji.
So we should be very, very alert.
Yes, sir. Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Means if somebody has done,
If we take even small favors from those,
if somebody has done something for us, we are obliged to them.
yes, we are obliged to pay it back. Even if we commit some sinful act. Here the principle which Srila Prabhupada is saying, that when Arjuna was able to see on his own understanding that fighting means killing and killing means sinful reaction, so I will not fight. So why they were not able to see that gambling means suffering? Why did they indulge in gambling? Why did they not apply this principle there? Why? Because they were thinking that they can win. Why in Mahabharata this game of dice has been there? To teach to all of us that gambling is bad. Even for a most virtuous Pandava, who are such pure devotees of the Lord, even when they engaged in this game of dice, they had to go through such suffering. That is one aspect. And the other aspect is that if we are in bad association, if we are in company of wrong people, and we take help or support from that, then what we have to do, we are obliged. We are obliged to support them.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Sorry.
No, Prabhuji, I understood what you said. Thank you.
So we should be very, very selective in what association we are, with whom we are interacting, and from where we are seeking support and guidance. If it is from the wrong sources, it will further lead us not to be able to do what is actually good for us, not to be able to perform our duty. So many lessons we can learn from the first chapter. And through the character of Arjuna, Krishna is revealing to us. Okay? Any other doubt or argumentation? Have we become very submissive? We don't want to argue like Arjuna. Arjuna will still not stop to argue. He will continue to argue. We will see in next verse. Even in the second chapter, he will continue to argue. Yes, Mamta ji, बोलिए. Can you hear Mamta? आपका hand raise है.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Am I audible, Prabhuji?
Yes, बोलिए.
Prabhuji, my question is that what is the difference between saintly nature and cowardly nature? Means cowardly nature. Means at what condition we have to show that that cowardly nature? Means I am confused between these two words: saintly nature and cowardly nature.
Saintly means that when you are not attached to your own selfish interest. That is saint. Saint means one who does good and benefit to others. That is saint. And cowardly means that one who does not do good to others, and who is obsessed with his own selfish interest. And what is the self? What is the understanding of the self? Is this body, or the mind, or his senses? So one who acts on the platform of satisfying his own senses, his mind, his body, such a person's life is a life of cowardice. And one who lives for the benefit of others, such a life or a person is saved. Clear?
Yes, Prabhuji.
You can decide what is our path, which path we are leading. Yes, Dinesh ji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, you mentioned that the Srimad Bhagavad Gita says that aggressor must be neutralized at once.
Yes.
But we have been taught that ahimsa paramo dharma, the half of the sloka. The other half of the sloka, Bhagavad Gita tells us that aggressor must be neutralized at once.
Yeah,
You know,
yes, yes.
but we have been taught the half sloka, this ahimsa paramo dharma. But the complete sloka is dharmasya hinsa, hinsa ne bhavati.
Okay,
Am I right, Prabhuji?
Yeah.
Am I right, Prabhuji?
It is like saying that Gandhiji has said that if someone slaps you on one of your
Yes.
cheek, you should produce your second cheek.
Yes, yes, yes.
So the terrorists come to the country and they're killing. So
Yeah.
what we should do? We should, come in front of them so that they can kill more.
Yes. So that's why, but our literature says that, but we have been taught the half sloka, ahimsa
Yes.
paramo dharma. But the other half is dharmasya hinsa, hinsa ne bhavati. यानी
Thank
धर्म
you.
की रक्षा के लिए जो हिंसा है वो हिंसा नहीं कहलाती.
Yeah. And I
Am I right?
quoted from Manu Samhita also.
जी जी प्रभु जी.
It is saying that one who kills the aggressor, he
Huh.
will never be inflicted by sin. That is what the Kshatriya meant for. What is
Ji.
Kshatriya meant for? Kshatriya is meant to protect all the weak.
जी जी.
That is Kshatriya dharma. And what is Arjuna doing?
Yeah.
He is running away from his dharma.
Yes.
Why? Because he is feeling that if he kills, then he cannot enjoy. So enjoyment is given more priority than performing his duty. This is what a conditioned soul always decides. Thank you for
Thank you,
sharing
Prabhu.
this
Thank you.
full principle, as you rightly said.
Yes, yes.
That is why people also quote Bhagavad Gita, Karmanye Vadhikaraste. This is not half, this is 1/4. Because Krishna says, Mahaphaleshu Kadachana. That we don't accept. If we don't accept, Ma Karma Phal Hetu, we don't accept. And then we also don't accept Mate Sango Asti Akarma. So in English that is called half hand logic. सुना है आपने? अर्थ
जी।
को न्याय।
जी.
तो ज्यादातर ऐसा ही है हमारे जीवन में। क्योंकि कारण क्या है? क्योंकि सही सोर्स से हमने नॉलेज नहीं लिया।
जो हमको भी जो इतिहास पढ़ाया जी प्रभु
जी बोलिए।
हमको भी जो इतिहास पढ़ाया गया है वो सब गलत सलत पढ़ाया गया है, तो इसीलिए सरकार अभी इतिहास पुनः इतिहास लेखन कर रही है. They are rewriting the history.
इतिहास is meant to learn lessons and not to repeat it.
Yes, yes, yes. They want to rewrite it again in the proper perspective.
Thank you very much. Keep hearing Srimad Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah. Hare Krishna Prabhu ji, Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavad Gita यथारूप की जाए, Srimad Prabhupada की जाए, all glories to the Assembled. Hare Krishna.